Unfortunately, Gadget, in the real world,
evil quite often prevails. Afraid so.
Bruce Wayne may have lost his fortune, but he's got himself a whole damn bakery. My goodness me. Every couple of years, the world of superhero comics, the big guns, Marvel and DC, unleash their latest Elseworlds takes on characters in a bid to freshen up interest with new renditions of old legends. For DC, a more recent dive into this trend has yielded a major uptick in sales. The Absolute Universe, Darkseid, the god of evil, a mantle that leaves very little to the imagination, has become the supreme god of a universe, and he's gonna be a real jerk about it. Justice is out, and evil is in a world where the bad guys reign supreme, while the heroes scrounge for scraps, lost and alone in a frightening, cruel setting brimming with horror. Suave, billionaire, crime-fighting genius Bruce Wayne is out. Blue-collar, strongman, powerhouse Bruce Wayne is in. Each hero is stripped of key aspects of what made them who they are traditionally. From Wonder Woman completely missing out on the Amazons, to Wally West not having a Barry Allen in his life. To Superman never getting that all-American upbringing, to the Green Lanterns no longer being entertaining. And it's all for Darkseid's cruel amusement, as he looks to undermine the heroes who have so often caused him trouble, and prove they are merely heroes of circumstance, rather than merit. Needless to say, even with the deck stacked against them, the Titans of DC still fight the good fight, because it'd be a pretty deflating and pointless lineup if they didn't, wouldn't it? Oh, except Hawkman, he's really evil now for some reason. So why has the Absolute line struck such a chord with readers since its inception? Beyond the obvious fun of having alternative, eccentric takes on classic mythos, the Absolute line's popularity stems from its strangely close to reality themes. The unveiling of the Epstein Files, an endless back catalogue of depravity among the so-called elites of our society, has been a grim and miserable eye-opener for many, as all manner of disturbing filth has come leaking out over a variety of celebrities, world leaders, and more. Epstein, a mystery man when it comes to explaining his mammoth wealth, putting young girls, not women. A whole lot of oddballs right now are calling any victim under 18, i.e., almost all of them, underage women. A woman is an adult. These underage girls, kids essentially, were loaned and pimped out to every bloated, greedy bigwig with a handout. And Bubba, who might be a horse by the way, received a rather intimate favor from a certain president. Oh my goodness. At best, the alternative is Bill Clinton, just to be clear. And George W. Bush, maybe, has some very questionable ideas of what constitutes a cheat meal.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you." If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
If even a measly, minuscule fraction of the stuff in these messages is indeed true, as we all know they most likely all are, frankly, then we do indeed live in a sick world. A prison planet of sickness and cruelty. A world made in the mind frame, seemingly, of Satan himself. Anyways, to kick this off, within Absolute Batman, arguably the most popular of the Absolute series at the moment, there lies a character that, rather than completely ridiculous as he should be, now actually seems like almost a too-close-to-home send-up of what we're learning about the sick and twisted games of the wealthy 1% billionaire class who so kindly, just wonderfully, run the rest of the world into the ground for us time and time again. I'm not sure we ever asked them to, but they're doing it anyway. That character is the Joker. And this is really just DC's classic diabolical jester in name only. Jack Grin, a demonic menace from yesteryear, using a variety of sick practices to maintain his youth, quietly sets the world ablaze on the regular through his shady J.K. Holdings company. A business monolith with tentacles in every aspect of society. This man has no sense of humor. He's an emotionless, creepily measured, monotone individual with a nice mansion, a butler, and a cave. Where have we seen this before? There's a fitting irony in a successful Joker losing his smile, buried in a world of actual work and material gain, having everything beyond, and yet losing his core self within in the process. And he's got a body horror secret here, hidden within his cover as a suit-and-tie stiff. A gigantic, man-eating demon form, his true form, presumably, a beast reveling in sadism and depravity. A venom tongue, a Pennywise smile, a Deathclaw frame. Yes, this design is somewhat unoriginal, to be honest. Now, obviously, these comics are pure fantasy, nestled within one of the more outlandish takes on the perpetually silly and colourful medium of superhero storytelling. And yet, as we have seen recently, and in general for many years, for those who actually pay attention beyond the mainstream narrative, or whatever you want to call it, symbolically, this concept of a sick and twisted 1%er being an unspeakable monster does not seem all that fantastical, after all. So we'll focus on the most obvious one, the one you can talk about in this way without having to worry about a shocking lawsuit going in your direction. Jeffrey Epstein. Where did this guy's money come from? It's a mystery for history. A friend to every rich scumbag in the world, seemingly, except... Oh, look at that. Mel Gibson. Huh.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, weird town. Mm-hmm. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff.
The Epstein Files are a never-ending slog of disordered, redacted chaos to sift through. Even the most high-IQ autist is going to struggle to fully make head or tail of every little, utterly insane detail popping up in there. What we do know is that conspiracy theory just went and became conspiracy fact, and no one's really doing anything about it. Your world leaders, your celebrities, your corporate elites, all heading over to the island, seemingly, for weekends of kiddie fiddling, and, possibly, based on certain emails out there, a bit of the cheeky old cannibalism. What these files really tell you, super basically, is that we are run by supervillains. We are cattle in the eyes of a generation of financially empowered evil. And now let's take a wee look at Absolute Evil. That was literally its title. This special, from the Absolute line, gave readers a bizarre inversion of the Justice League, composed of the line's wealthiest villains: Joker, Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you want to say it, Veronica Cale, Hector Hammond, and Eleanor Thorne. Pretty sure that was a guy in the old comics. They all sit around plotting world domination and how to be rid of these pesky crime fighters and rebels cropping up all over the place. In America. America only. As always. The rest of the world just twiddles its thumbs with pathetic and useless so-called law enforcement. How do we know they're pathetic and useless? Well, because we have them. In reality, that's how. Who needs to stop violent criminals when you can dance around with a couple of rainbows on your face? Ha! Just wonderful stuff, I feel so safe. And the subtle hints at real-life pervert billionaires are completely thrown out the window with a lesser-known character. Jubal Slade. Jabal Slade. Jubal Slade. Oof, I want to be careful with that last pronunciation attempt. A fiddler of the highest order, a rich scumbag who absolutely loves those for whom puberty is yet to fully materialize. A sick freak, with a private island and a trusty private plane to fly his wealthy weirdo friends out to. I mean, come on now, this isn't even really storytelling, it's not even subtle, this is just revolting real life in comic book form. This hideous villain, the kind of guy who'd defend Roman Polanski and Luc Besson, and call for the release of John Venables, probably, is so awful that he inspires the rise of this universe's Green Arrow. And poor Ollie Queen, such an unfortunate surname, horrified by the kind of evil that'd get you castrated in Genpup, becomes Green Arrow to kick names and take ass, or something like that. Now, his quest to fight the good fight is completely squashed in absolute evil. He's betrayed and eviscerated, blindsided and taken out. This is how it goes when anyone dares to try and make their voice heard, to try and fight back against those who hold the keys to every door that matters. And we're talking about actual dissenters in that regard, not these fake, phony, controlled opposition types we've had over the years in reality, who just conveniently get these decent platforms to speak on, pretending they're not just serving the establishment in a different way, presenting an illusion of hope for the frustrated portions of the masses out there, all while not actually doing anything or getting anything moving, seemingly ever. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Now, Darkseid. Despite having all of the plot relevance, the classic DC rogue is almost never seen in these absolute comics, existing beyond the material reality of the leading characters as their secret ruler. And already, there are hints of Darkseid worship, or at least an acceptance of his energy and push towards evil for success among the line's rogues gallery. Darkseid is the evil god of Jack Kirby's Fourth World comics, and the total antithesis of the Highfather, the leading nice god of New Genesis, just across the stars from Darkseid's Apocalypse. A good god and an evil god, each with their own world to rule over. Okay, and the absolute DC universe sees Darkseid take the reins of this fresh new universe, assuming a new level of creator-level godhood. The universe is rigged in his direction through the Omega particle, a key subatomic aspect of this reality, highlighting its natural slant towards evil and control over decency and freedom. This is a morally darkened world of bondage, and not the fun type, so take your hand out of your pants, sicko. Of oppression and injustice, where the status quo is laughably unfair as the vast majority of the world desperately fight for survival and meaning, in an aimless slug of heavy strain for meager gain. Get a job and work till you're dead, peasant. All while a select few live a high life of pure evil, of control and domination, all while committing heinous crimes completely out of the reach of the short, flaccid arm of the law. Shocking! Absolutely shocking. That's right. It's exactly like the hell dimension that passes as this world you and I live in right now. So an unseen dark force the rich and powerful fall under the thumb of, living by to their advantage, all while keeping the rest of the world completely oblivious to the truth of their situation. Okay, at this point in time, many of us have come to accept that the wealthy and the powerful, those in positions of authority across various aspects of life and society the world over, clearly don't have the common man and woman's interests at heart. Quite the opposite, in fact. With every passing year, we're taxed more, worked harder, with countless unlucky folks getting buried in a sea of debt and out-of-hand living costs, frustrated with meaningless adulthoods that strip away any sense of fun or individuality one could have strived for or had the potential for at a younger age. And now, of course, with every passing year, more of the ugly truths of what goes on behind closed doors, of corruption and sickness in high places, is leaking out to the masses. Is it happenstance? Probably not. So evil elites pulling strings is quite plausible, sure, but where exactly does an evil entity running the show from afar, beyond reach, really apply to the world today, particularly when looking at it from a more secular, Western point of view? Well, the answer is actually everywhere. The Black Cube.
It's you! It's you! How could you, man? How could you?
No, not him. This. As you can see, this incredibly basic design turns up everywhere, from logos all the way to a certain sacred rock in a certain kingdom currently looking to gobble up the world of sport. What does it mean exactly? It's actually synonymous with a very old mythological figure, a cruel and slow-moving god of agriculture, fertility, time, and order, among other things, the wandering star, often associated with the ancient chosen people of the old Abrahamic texts, Saturn. Saturn, a harsh, mean-spirited creator god from an age largely before this one, according to many myths out there, is often symbolized by a black cube. His work involves imprisoning the spirits of humanity into this carbon world of matter, locked away in the three-dimensional plane of rules, restrictions, and captivity. The black cube represents this bleak, inescapable construct of barriers, a seal of order from which you will never leave until the sweet release of death. So why would it turn up everywhere now, right? That's a good question, isn't it? Well, it appears that Saturn, beyond matching up eerily well with the just charming god of the big three religions, a figure who, in many stories, seems more concerned about cutting up baby wangs and having everyone pray to him 5,000 times a day or something than actually helping humanity progress and improve, is also associated, in some circles, with wealth. And while the largely blind to the truth normies and butts are bound by endless rules in a world they never actually asked to be born into in the first place, those in the know get up to all kinds of mischief. According to the old stories, Saturn himself, while pushing hard natural law and order onto humanity, was quite the mayhem maker, from castrating his old man to eating his own children. Eating youngsters, oh my. And people think veal and lamb are politically incorrect these days. A devourer god, relentlessly, mercilessly enforcing rules, consequences, life cycles, and more onto the world at hand, all while indulging his own sick, monstrous greed. The very systems we rely upon for an allegedly functional society tie quite neatly into this old pagan menace's demands, seemingly kept alive by hidden collectives seeking to emulate his brutal dominance on Earth. This Saturnian concept, if you will, one that you don't have to believe, just know that there are those in power who appear to, is represented very neatly and tidily in DC's Absolute Comics, funnily enough, with the absolute evil lineup of villains and the unseen shadow of Darkseid that looms over them and the world they control. Darkseid here is the evil creator god, the oft-warned of demiurge in Gnostic concepts, a mean-spirited, demanding all-father, unseen and unheard but felt in every moment of physical, material life. A curious little thing to consider, beyond the black cube, is the other symbol most commonly associated with the one they sometimes also call Kronos. A star. Very specifically, a six-pointed star. Two triangles, one inverted, coming together from above and below. Unity, if you will, between this physical, grounded world and, by ancient logic at least, the divinely powerful one up beyond the clouds. And we do see this star, this seal of Saturn, as it used to be called in some circles, all over the place. Naturally, most will jump to a certain nation in the Middle East right now, who have it proudly emblazoned over their flags under this Star of David moniker. The star itself has had a habit of popping up all over the world over the years, and was originally, rather than David, associated more with his son Solomon, a wizard king, who could control demons through magic, had 1,000+ wives, concubines more like, and eventually led his kingdom to total ruin after performing a ritual in honor of Moloch, the kiddie devourer god of the Old Testament. Doesn't he sound delightful? It's amazing how many of these biblical figures sound strangely evil and diabolical once you separate their stories from the religious brainwashing many of us are handed from birth. Now, a big question circling the Epstein Files at the moment in general is why now? Why have the powers that be moved ahead with info-dumping mass amounts of Epstein's hijinks now? Is the world not chaotic enough? There will be some who will see all this filth leaking out to the masses and have hope that maybe, finally, something will change. That beyond one or two folks being made an example out of, like a certain former royal named Andy here in the UK, there'll actually be mass arrests, investigations, impeachments, and so on. But the actual reason, for now, appears to be much simpler and considerably less exciting. Learned helplessness. You get up, you read a bit, and then you look at the time and remember you have to get to work. Memes sprout up, quickly cheapening the worth of both the information and the efforts to go through it, making everything one big, apathetic joke. Nothing changes, the wheel keeps on turning, and you find yourself quickly accepting that nothing will be done to bring these all but all-powerful wrongdoers to justice, and quickly moving on to the next current thing. Now getting by in a world of blatant evil and corruption without the backbone to do or say much of anything about it, because you've got the car insurance, the home insurance, the taxes, and the 40-plus hours a week in a demeaning, aimless job to contend with. Because the options are either that or just starve and die. Or, well, for certain groups, live off taxpayer money indefinitely for reasons none of us are entirely sure about. But anyways, totally irrelevant. In DC Comics, and escapism in general, there are heroes and larger-than-life figures who fight the good fight for the normies, protecting them from the big bad outside world and its countless fantastical threats. But we see now that this fantasy is just an extra layer of the learned helplessness programming. In indulging in these often very entertaining and well-told stories of big-time warriors fighting evil so regular peeps don't have to, the subconscious notion of not being good enough, that being a mere human is simply not on the level required to make a change, that takes root deep beneath the surface of the conscious mind, growing an apathy that becomes instinctive and natural. So this oddly close to home, despite its countless fantastical elements, new line of the funny books is just another layer of control in the never-ending psyop of consumerist entertainment that we're all consuming, just to be clear, myself included. And to be even more clear, that goes for essentially every piece of even vaguely mainstream and beyond entertainment. Always has. The absolute stuff is well written, bar Green Lantern, and maybe The Flash to a lesser extent, and it's very interesting. But beyond the obvious entertainment value, perhaps, maybe, its popularity has stemmed from what it's stirring in the subconscious minds of its readers.